This video isn't very long, but it's got a lot of ideas in it. So I'll walk you through this. What we're really focusing here is the question of answering ideas. Now, your key text has specific claims and ideas that your summary response is asking you to respond to. The main way of that response is to use another text. And again, those texts are very specifically defined, so make sure you review the criteria on your assignment sheet to make sure that whatever text you're using for the second text meets the standards. The main focus of this one is not really about the assignment so much as how you go about answering ideas. So the first thing you're going to do, and I'll go through 5 steps in this, is you're looking to, in your key text, to find the idea. Remember, on the summary response, you don't have to cover every idea in it like you did in the summary. You're focusing on 1 or 2 ideas that really are interesting to you. This will be true in the exploratory synthesis as well. So search your text for a claim. Is there an idea, a main idea that stands out? So for example, in the Christopher Sherritt article on violence in films, you could look at this and just pull out one idea. It could be this: with the Reagan era, the horror film degenerated, the subversive component nearly vanished. And if that's an idea that's enough for you to write a paper about, and you have another text that is talking about a similar idea, then that's all you really need to concentrate on this. Of course, there's going to be more in the article to deal with. Or this is one from an article on sex and imagery or sex and intimacy. It looks at one particular idea taken from one paragraph. And that really is where you can start and do most of your work. You will need to go a little bit deeper than that, so make sure it's not such a small idea that you can't find additional information. This is one on the PED use. So the realities of sports are that even in drug-free situations, athletes do not set particularly good examples. So you can tell kind of this person's interested in the idea of role models from this article, one of several elements within that article. Okay, your second step then is to challenge that idea. Now, challenge, I don't mean you're necessarily going to disagree or prove it wrong, but you're going to start to pull apart that idea and see if it stands up as well as it appears to. So look at the logic of the claim. Does the argument have a weakness? Does it make some assumptions? Does it generalize? And so, in other words, does it state that something overwhelming like all athletes have to be responsible or all athletes are abusive or something like that? Is there an underlying idea that is overly generalized? So we could look again at that Sherritt article. With the Reagan era, the horror film degenerated, subversive component nearly vanished. And we could ask this question: is that accurate? Was there something about the Reagan era? And you can imagine that to think about that, you're going to have to do a little bit of research probably, even though it's not kind of official research for this assignment. You're going to also have to take an issue with the terms in that article. What does Sherritt mean by subversive? And are there exceptions to this? So we'll look at that later. In this other one, here's an idea by Jensen, right? We should start with the recognition that precisely because they're powerful experiences, intimacy and sex are never risk-free. We ask, is this absolutely true? And is this true in every situation? Are intimacy and sex the same thing as the language of the article suggests? Or is this even the right starting point for this question? And then we'll look at one more of these. This is Smith and Stewart's idea about examples. Is this a reality? Right? Is this basically completely true? Are athletes really better or worse than other people as being good examples or role models? Can drug-free athletes be good examples? So these are all questions that we're just kind of pulling apart at the key text as we select an idea. Well, then the third step is to consider a response from a second text. Now, one thing about the summary response is that it does allow you to make your own responses based on your own reasoning and findings, but not to do additional research. So you're welcome to enter into this paper and make your own kind of reasoned response, but your primary one is to use a second text. So what do you think of the claim? Or maybe more specifically, what does the second text think of the claim? Right, okay. So it either means it agrees, which is unqualified, it's complete agreement. It agrees, but, and we'd call that qualified. Qualification. I agree with qualification. Or, of course, the other 2 options are it disagrees, unqualified. It's in complete disagree. It's complete and absolutely on the other side of the issue. Or it disagrees with some slight qualifications. So it's, for the most part, disagrees. Let's take a look at some ways to look at this. So the unqualified agreement, it agrees. So here's what we'd be doing if we're looking at two particular sources. Say one of them is a Christopher Sherritt article, and another one is by somebody named Stalwart. And this is how we'd put those ideas together. So here in the article, he asserts that, quote, the subversive component nearly vanished from 1980s horror film. Then we, of course, proper attribution and citation. Sherritt's claim is the best evaluation of this era in horror movies, which is confirmed by Stalwart's research. Note that that second sentence does a number of things. One, it confirms the viewpoint from Sherritt. Two, it actually suggests your own or the writer's own view of this. It's saying, I confirm, not only do I agree with this, and then it's saying what's most importantly, it's introducing the second text, and that text's view on this one. And you can imagine after this paragraph ends that what the writer is going to do here is introduce the specifics of Stalwart's research. Qualified agreement. It agrees but. So, again, we'll look at something like this. Although Sherritt's claim that the subversive component nearly vanished from 1980s horror film is generally accurate, Stalwart provides greater context. Again, we're making that same sort of transition. There is a little bit of analysis in there in that the writer is saying, I think this is generally accurate, and then of explaining that by showing Stalwart's greater context. Unqualified agreement. This should be unqualified disagreement. It disagrees. This is the case of Jensen claims that intimacy and sex are never risk-free. This claim fails to consider one of Michelson's key findings. So this one basically says that Jensen is wrong in his statement, and it's going to be shown wrong by using evidence from the Michelson article, or whatever that second article might be. Qualified, again, this should be qualified disagreement. It disagrees, but. And in this particular case, it's saying that the article is wrong, or although Michelson does support a partial confirmation. And then, of course, the paragraph would go on to explain what that confirmation is as drawn from, say, the Michelson or whatever that second text is. Okay, and this is one of those points where I haven't done this for a while, an extra credit bonus. I just want to curious to see if you're watching this one, just send me an email or send me a note through Canvas. Just send me the word glasses, and I'll add 5 extra credit points to your score. Here, what I want to do is introduce you to a sheet that this is available. You can download through Canvas. And as you look through this sheet, you'll notice that what it allows you to do is, it creates a series of templates. If you're trying to think about these different categories of how to do agreement or disagreement, here are some sentence structures that might help you make transitions. Don't feel bad about using someone else's forms. This isn't plagiarism. This is just using structure. And so look through this sheet, download it, and see if there's some ways that these sentence structures could help you make those transitions from your key text to the second text you're integrating. Okay, now back to the, whatever this is, presentation. Why does the text, right, explain why? And this is what's really important. You can't just say someone disagrees, you need to show why. Why does the text agree or disagree? What's the specific reasoning? And this is where you're really using your brain power. You're trying to make connections between these two articles, showing that even though they may be talking about something a little bit different, or they're not necessarily talking to each other, that they are in a way, based on their ideas, agreeing or disagreeing. So what is the reasoning? If it agrees, it might be something here where Sherritt's claim is the best evaluation of this era in horror movies because even the subversive films of the 1980s tended to compromise, as Stalwart shows. And then, again, that's showing the reasoning why Stalwart agrees. Or the agreement that qualified. Sherritt's claim is primarily true, generally accurate, but it fails to consider the case of independent cult films such as The Toxic Avenger, which Stalwart cites. So again, we're using those second texts to show the reason for agreement or disagreement. And this probably should say qualified agreement, not qualified disagreement. So my headings are completely messed up. Unqualified disagreement, it disagrees. So Jensen claims this. This claim fails to distinguish between a fundamental distinction expressed in Michelson's work. So it's saying it's wrong because of this distinction already made in this other text. And likewise, the qualified, he may have a point about intimacy given Michelson's finding. It disagrees, but there's at least this little place where the second text may confirm or agree on this small issue. Well, then the last step, of course, is to build on what you do in steps 3 and 4, and that's to provide evidence and reason. This is what happens after those transitional sentences. You're going to answer and explain your reason. Why should your reader agree with one source over the other? And is there compelling evidence? One of the things you're free to express in the summary response paper is your particular perspective. And I won't say opinion, because opinion is very subjective. A perspective can be explained. Why you agree or disagree with one source more than the other, or one source's idea, or why you agree with them confirming. Whatever your perspective on this, you're welcome to enter in this. But remember, you have the same standard that your sources do. You need to explain your reasoning, why your perspective is the right one, or why one source's perspective is the better one. So go back to these questions, and it really comes down to reason and evidence. And those are going to be the two main things you draw from these two texts, your key text and the other one you select. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions. And again, feel free to download that templates file, which is with this video, and hopefully that will be of some use to you as you construct, as you put your two sentences or your two sources together. Thanks.